Melissa Barrera was recently fired from her leading role in Scream 7 for her post on Instagram. Gaza is currently being treated like a concentration camp, cornering everyone together with nowhere to go, no electricity, no water. People are still silently watching it all happen. This is genocide and ethnic cleansing. Spyglass released this statement: "We have zero tolerance for anti-Semitism or the incitement of hate in any form, including false references to genocide, ethnic cleansing, Holocaust distortion, or anything that flagrantly crosses the line into hate speech." In addition, Susan Sarandon has just been dropped by her talent agency UTA after attending and speaking at a pro-Palestinian rally. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a deeply rooted, complex feud that has lasted for generations. But is it more than just a conflict? Could it be considered genocide? The UN Convention on Genocide defines genocide as acts committed with specific intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. Even before the current situation in Gaza, Palestinians were living with what amounts to a military occupation by Israel. Israel's attitude towards Gaza has been punishing, fencing people in, limiting exits, and trapping them in what has been called an open-air prison by many human rights organizations.
The United Nations says just 10% of Gaza's 2 million people have access to safe drinking water.
My children get sick because of the water. They suffer from vomiting, diarrhea.
All the streets are full of trashes or of garbage. All the people, they have no work, they have not employment.
When people here run out of electricity, they only get 3 hours a day. They can either use a small battery to try to operate lights, or they just go outside and light fires. This life has given Imad, like many Gazans, a sense of having little to lose.
Now that bombs are flying, things have only gotten worse. On October 7, 2023, Hamas launched an attack on Israel, killing around 1,200 Israelis and taking more than 240 as hostages. In response, Israel launches Operation Swords of Iron, killing over 12,000 Palestinians as of November 11, 2023, almost half of which have been children.
بنخاف على أرواحنا. أصير أنا إيش أرجف، عارف دايا أرجفه ودايا صاروا يرجعوني. أتمنى يصير تهدئة، إنه يصير هدنة وما يصابش أحد تاني منا. نفسي نرجع نصير هدنة، نرجع عالدار عبيوتنا ونحرف ننام ونكيف. أنا هيك حابب.
How have the past few days been, Abdulaziz?
Like shit.
It's okay, we can cut it out. Tell me, how have the past few days been, Abdulaziz? Explain to us.
You mean about the war?
Yes, how has it been with the war?
Like shit.
Yet, it would seem that Israel is underplaying the current conditions in Gaza.
There is no humanitarian crisis in Gaza. In coordination with the US and the UN, we allowed the number of trucks entering Gaza now with food and medicines to reach almost 100 trucks every day.
You've said this before, that there is no humanitarian crisis in Gaza. That's kind of an amazing statement, because there were humanitarian problems there before the war, and now obviously it has gotten bad.
But
take their numbers aside. It has gotten to the crisis point.
I'm not saying that the life in Gaza is great.
This woman, who works for Doctors Without Borders, describes her own experience in Gaza.
It is the worst humanitarian catastrophe I've experienced in my lifetime. You know, there's an acronym in the Gaza Strip right now. You know, I'm a pediatric intensive care doctor. I see a lot of suffering in my career. There's an acronym that is unique to the Gaza Strip, and it's WCNSF. Wounded child, no surviving family. Children, and it is used not infrequently in the last 3 weeks. Wounded child, no surviving family should not exist as an acronym.
Before we go any further in this discussion, let's address two important points. Not all Palestinians in Gaza support Hamas. Hamas has been the de facto governing body in the Gaza Strip since 2007. They won the 2006 Palestinian parliamentary elections and have occasionally presented themselves as democratic and moderate.
We are a moderate organization. Really, we are not a radical organization, and we are not extremist or fundamentalist. No, we are an open-minded organization believe in democracy and freedom and political pluralization.
Despite these claims, Hamas has shown itself to be a violent extremist group dedicated to Israel's destruction. In addition, it is false to consider them representative of the people because they have not held fair elections since they came into power. Similarly, not all Israelis support Netanyahu. There is fierce criticism of Netanyahu among the Israeli public. This poll from November 3rd found that 76% want him to resign. Netanyahu's current cabinet is filled with extremists who make him part of the most right-wing government in Israel's history. For example, Itamar Ben-Gvir, who has been convicted on charges of incitement to racism. The current finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, has denied the existence of Palestinian culture. He has also promoted victory through settlement, and Netanyahu has given him a special role in charge of settlement affairs. Here is a clip of him from 2015 discussing a strategy to use Hamas to undermine the Palestinian Authority and delegitimize the Palestinian government.
The Palestinian Authority is a burden, and Hamas is a terrorist organization that no one will recognize and no one will give it status in the ICC. No one will let them lead a decision in the Security Council. The main pitch we are playing now is international delegitimization. Hamas, at this point, in my opinion, will be an asset.
And there has been increasingly disturbing rhetoric concerning the loss of civilian life. If the goal is damage, does that also mean civilian death? What do you think? U.S. Representative Brian Mast seems to see nothing wrong with this strategy.
I would encourage the other side to not so lightly throw around the idea of innocent Palestinian civilians, as is frequently said. I don't think we would so lightly throw around the term innocent Nazi civilians during World War II. There's not this far stretch to say there are very few innocent Palestinian civilians.
Yet questions remain. Is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict a form of genocide, or is it a protracted struggle with deep historical roots? To try to understand this complex conflict, let's go back in time to get more context. The conflict is mostly about two groups who claim the same land. Palestinian is a word used to describe the ethnic identity of those who have historically lived in Palestine. The people who lived there were religiously diverse and lived generally in peace. This area had been under Ottoman rule for centuries. A growing movement in Europe called Zionism identified Judaism as a nationality and called for a country in the area of Palestine for the Jewish people. Believing this area to have been promised to Abraham in the Bible, they saw it as their historic homeland, and tens of thousands of European Jews started moving there over the next few decades. After World War I, the Ottoman Empire collapsed, and the British and French empires carved up the Middle East, with Britain taking control of a region it called the British Mandate for Palestine. In Europe, the largest number of people impacted by ethnic cleansing and genocide occurred before, during, and immediately after World War II. The Nazis deported and then exterminated around 17 million people. 6 million were Jews, including 1 million children. 1/3 of the world's Jewish population and 2/3 of Europe's Jewish population died. In recent years, instances of ethnic cleansing and genocide have occurred in Europe, Asia, and Africa. The United Nations defines ethnic cleansing as a purposeful policy designed by one ethnicity or religious group to remove by violent and terror-inspiring means the civilian population of another ethnic or religious group from certain geographic areas. The Holocaust led many more Jews to flee Europe for British Palestine. In 1947, as tension and violence between Arabs and Jews there continued to grow, the United Nations approved a plan to divide British Palestine into two separate states, Israel and Palestine. It set aside the city of Jerusalem, where Jews, Muslims, and Christians all have holy sites, as a special international zone. Many Palestinians and surrounding Arab nations saw this as more European colonialism and declared war on Israel in an effort to establish a unified Arab Palestine, where all of British Palestine had been. The new state of Israel won the war, pushing well past their borders in the process. They also expelled hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their homes, and over 700,000 Palestinians became refugees in surrounding Arab countries. At the end of the war, Israel controlled all of the territory except for Gaza, which Egypt controlled, and the West Bank, which Jordan controlled. In 1967, the Six-Day War ended with Israel expanding their borders even further and occupying all of Palestine and Jerusalem. Since then, and despite changes in leadership on both sides, the fighting has continued, and there are now over 350,000 Jewish settlers in the West Bank, and over 200,000 in East Jerusalem, and these settlements are illegal according to international law, but life is very different depending on which group you belong to. Why are these population pyramids so different? Trivia question. According to the demographic transition model, the Israeli population would appear to be in stage, and the Palestinian population would appear to be in stage. As we seek to understand the situation better, many questions remain. Is the intention truly removal of an ethnic group, or is the driving motivation a simple land dispute? This Israeli man, Rami Elhanan, lost his 14-year-old daughter to a Hamas suicide bombing 26 years ago. He started a group where both Palestinian and Israeli parents who've lost children to this conflict get together to work toward peace. When asked if the recent events have changed his worldview, this was his response.
You know, we are in a circle of blood for the last 75 years, and this is just another round. Nobody expected the viciousness and the cruelty of this round, but it was expected. You cannot put 2 million people in a box, close the cover, and expect nothing will happen. It will not stop unless we talk. You cannot annihilate Hamas. You cannot ignore 6 million people, Palestinians, living here in the Holy Land. And you cannot expect them to go away. They will not go away. We will not go away. We are doomed to live here together, and we have to choose whether to share this land or to share the graveyard under it.
How can this circle of blood be ended? And how can we pave the way for a just and peaceful resolution for each side?